I'm being told maybe running's just not for you, right? Maybe you need to find something else. Maybe you need to take it easy. Maybe your body just isn't built for this.
What was the process for you of building that new foundation from the inside as well, while you were also building your body and your physical strength and your capacity and your business? Welcome back to the Aging Athletically podcast. I'm here with the brilliant Allison Heilig, and I'm your co-host, Kelly Moser. Allison, I know you've got quite the story. I want to hear about how you got into this work. I know you had a big life event that triggered your interest in this work. Take us back.
Yeah. So the big life event was when let's go back a little farther. I grew up as I said, in the 80s and 90s. So Diet Coke and
Diet everything.
Yeah. I think the snack wells kind of came about at that time, and step aerobics and, things like that. I grew up in that era. And when I was 11 or 12 was the first time that I was at Weight Watchers. My mom had taken me, we had the little booklet, you weigh in, right? I was doing well. With all things in life, I'm an overachiever.
Gotta get that check mark and A+.
So I did very well there. And at the same time, I was playing softball. I think it was in the 7th grade. And I remember getting dizzy during my practices and games and being told that I had hypoglycemia. But really, I was just fueling for Weight Watchers while trying to play a sport, right? In retrospect, it makes perfect sense. So at that point, I kind of had to choose, and I chose not to play sports anymore, which I think is really common. There are a lot of girls who reach that point around puberty where their bodies change and they don't feel like they belong anymore in sport. And a lot of what's thrown at them is the recipe for skinny. And it's not going to help them enjoy participating in sports. So there was that moment. And then there were other moments. But one of the biggest, the most transformational and the most devastating, I think, in a lot of ways, was when I was 30, again, overachieving. I was very small. I was running 6 days a week. I was training for a marathon. And I ended up with this extreme hip pain, kind of it felt like my underwear were too tight on the right side. I kept pulling and digging into the hip joint. And I finally went to the doctor, got an MRI, and he said, your hip is broken. You have a stress fracture in the femoral neck. You have to take this seriously. And it was just this moment of my life where I don't know that I realized it at the time, how my past, my history with using the recipe for skinny while trying to do athletic things, I don't think it registered at the time. But that moment, I'm being told maybe running's just not for you, right? Maybe you need to find something else. Maybe you need to take it easy. Maybe your body just isn't built for this. And I'm stubborn. And so I said no. And I had this long recovery from that. It's a really long process. And through it all, I started to become a student of anatomy and physiology. What's the mechanisms behind this? What could be causing this? What could I do differently, right? Because I don't want this to be my life. I'm 30, right? I'm 30 and I broke my hip. This is not going anywhere good, right? So I started to really investigate that. And by the time I was 35, I was 12 years into a career in corporate legal. And I was really feeling this pull to do something meaningful, right? I think even getting to that place in my career was a great big FU to the systems that raised me that said girls don't go to college. Girls don't need to go to college. What do you need to go to college for, right? So it was I'm going to go to college and I'm going to do you one better, right? So with $174 in my bank account, I went off to college. I put myself through and I got where I got in my career, and I was at the top of it, but it just didn't have any soul connection to me. And what I went through was so deeply traumatizing and healing that I would really just felt like I wanted to help other people. So I started to coach runners on the side, 80-hour a week job. And then on the side,
with all your spare time that you had.
With all my spare time. And I, overachiever, ended up in the hospital with shingles at age 34 because I was trying to do so much, And there was a moment where I was like, I have to decide, I have to choose, right? And I walked into my closet on a random Tuesday in June in 2015, and it's like something had fallen off the shelf and hit me on the head, and it just said, I'm ready. And I texted my husband and I said, I'm going to do it. I'm going to quit my job. And he's like, of course you are.
Yeah.
Everybody knew it but me.
He knows you so well.
Right? Everybody knew it but me. They were all just waiting for me to wake up. Gave 12 weeks notice and I started a business at 35. I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't know how to build a website. Okay, I'll figure it out. And I started working with people right away based on my story and kind of what I'd gone through. And since that time, from age 30 to now, I've gone on to run 20 marathons, 9 ultras, compete in CrossFit and in Olympic weightlifting. And through it all, getting stronger, learning. I mean, I made a lot of mistakes. I failed a lot of things. But this idea of durability has always been the thread. It's like, Superman isn't Superman because he's infallible, right? Like humans, we have a different thing. We can get hurt. We can get beat up, right? We have, I think a lot of us, this idea that we want to be bold and we want to be brave, but we're worried about what's going to happen to us. And for me, this was just another layer of durability. It was just another layer. It was mental durability of just being able to try. Because what's the worst that's going to happen? I have a good education. I have a good resume. I can always go back to doing what I was doing. We're 12 years in now, and I've helped hundreds of people navigate similar things where they've gone to physical therapy and it didn't get them back to running. I have this story from a lot of women that I work with after pregnancy. They've never been able to get back to running because they have too much hip pain or this or that. And we get them back to marathons and doing all kinds of crazy stuff, right? I love this idea. My story, I think, really hammered into me in many different ways over the years that it's not over till you say it's over.
I love it. I love that you mentioned in those early days after your injury, it sounds like the physical, there was an obvious element of physical development that you saw necessary to get you to the next chapter of your life. Talk to us about the reframing and the mindset and the inner work that you had to do, leaving that skinny mentality behind, knowing that it was not going to serve you any longer. What was the process for you of building that new foundation from the inside as well, while you were also building your body and your physical strength and your capacity and your business?
I wish I could point to one moment where the light bulb went on, but it's more like peeling an onion. You peel the outer layer. And for me, that was just recognizing that I'm responsible for this. Like, again, it's not my fault I was handed this model, but now I have evidence that it does not work. And now it's my responsibility to do something about it. And so at that point, I had a choice. I can not do these things and listen to the narrative that says you are female, you are fragile, right? Or I could say, fuck that shit and do something else, right? Yeah. But it did require that I set down a lot of beliefs and a lot of conditioning. And as I started to set them down, the first thing that's really easy for people to say is, I'm not chasing skinny anymore, right? And you say it and you mean it and you want it to be true. But setting it down isn't put it down once. It's put it down over and over and over again, multiple times per day. And every time you get better at seeing it in your own behavior, you find it in a deeper layer. It's like it grew roots into the deepest part of you. And you don't realize how much it affects you. One of the things one of my clients said to me recently is that she likes to go skiing with her girlfriends. And she has just gone through this transformational process of being well fueled, right? And like, what does that do for her? And she's watching her friends eat like birds all day and complain about their energy. And she's like, I can't unsee that. Right? Because it does, it changes your perspective. But it feels like failure over and over and over again because you feel like you're getting better at it, but you're just seeing more of it because you're seeing a deeper layer of it, right? So I would just encourage anybody who is interested in going down this road to recognize that it's going to take a really long time. Like I would love to have told you that at age 30, that hip fracture was the end of my using skinny to be athletic approaches, but it was not. I went into my 30s when I was competing in CrossFit and ended up with red S, which is what they used to call female athlete triad, where I was once again under fueling and overtraining for my activity level in order to maintain a certain set of leanness and also to eat clean, right? Because like the amount I was training, I needed like 2,600 calories per day. Try doing that with just like fruit, veggies, and chicken breasts.
Right.
Like
you're not
going to eat enough. You can't eat, like physically it will not fit in your body. You have to eat some calorie dense foods. So there's this part of me that was like, okay, I'm not chasing skinny in restriction of calories, but I'm chasing it in cleanliness of food, right? So it's a more sophisticated outfit for the same problem. And it's just layer after layer after layer. You have to stay committed to the process of checking yourself and your beliefs and your actions. Is this really in alignment with where I want to go? Or is this still in some weird way, tied up in this pursuit of skinny?
You work with women who are running ultra marathons. They're lifting heavy. They're running regular marathons. They're so active. Do you find that even in a woman like that who largely has committed herself to this very athletic way of living, does even a woman like that have that little voice sometimes in the back of her mind that is still on that skinny programming too?
Yes, 10,000%.
Wow.
And in some ways, I think it might even be amplifying it, because there's a perception of what female athletes look like, which does not match reality. I mean, every time the Olympics come around and they show you the female athletes, I'm like, the bodies are very different on these women. It's very sport specific. When you focus on performance for a certain sport, you develop a body that is finely tuned for that sport, right? So, I mean, the figure skaters look different than the rugby players, right? Like there's different skills and strengths that you have to have for different sports. But the bodies, like when you divide them up by sport, they tend to fall in some more similar categories, right? Because those are sport-specific adaptations to a body. But whenever you just throw the term female athlete out there, it's still typically, maybe a runner who doesn't have a lot of muscle mass and is just really fast, right? So there's still an idea of like leanness, right? You still like male baseball players, some of them do not look fit. Like they just don't, but they're athletes, right? You see women who are athletes at that size and they are just ripped to shreds online. Like how you're not an athlete, you're obese, right? Like women are not treated the same way within that space. And then, even for me as a coach, as somebody in this industry, there is more pressure, right? Because like if you post video of yourself, and you can see this if you scroll through the comments, is like, what do you mean you're a personal trainer? You look like that? Who do you train? Why would I know anybody? Right? So there is, I think in some ways there can be an amplification of, I don't fit the mold anymore. But yes, these women, absolutely. You don't exist as an athlete in a vacuum. Like you still like go to work and still have the same inputs and still exist on the same internet and still see the same marketing as everybody else does. You maybe aren't buying into it at the same level, but it doesn't change that human beings are wired for acceptance. We are wired to fit in, right? And so in order to create those communities, so we're fighting our biology in a lot of ways whenever we're saying, I don't want to buy into this anymore, right? So yeah, I struggle with it too, especially I think with the runners. The strength athletes, it's a little bit less so because they understand that mass moves mass. They're more willing. On the running side, it is a challenge. And it's a big challenge because I don't think a lot of women understand that they're called carbohydrates for a reason. When you eat carbs, a gram of carbs, your body holds on to 3 to 4 ounces or grams of water as well. So like carbohydrates, when they get stored in your muscles take on more water. So when somebody is about to run a marathon, and they go to the start line, if they've done everything correctly, if they've been well fueled in the carb load, if they've been doing well in their fueling leading up to it, they sit kind of heavy on the start line. You don't feel like light, fast, and springy. You feel like I am a jetliner full of
Interesting.
fuel.
Yeah.
And a lot of women report that they feel puffy and they feel heavy and they feel, like swollen. I'm like, yes, yes, yes.
Good.
That's what we want, right? Yeah. But that goes against everything that they think it should, right? So there is this, like, women will tend to get a little puffier and a little squishier when they are doing it correctly. And that is not something that is well tolerated by women who are still kind of in the matrix when it comes to the skinniness.
What would you say to the woman who is recognizing that something's going to need to change in the next few decades of her life if she wants to age athletically and continue to be strong, but she knows that skinny thing's still got a grip on her somewhere and she's really afraid of thinking in a new way, acting in a new way, fueling in a new way? What would your message be to her?
My message, I think, to everybody when they're exploring this or getting curious about it is to question what in your life, what about your fitness and health routine is designed to make you feel better and does make you feel better, and what makes you feel worse, what makes you feel like you are a problem to be fixed, right? I think one of my issues with the industry on a whole is that there is a lot of manufactured desperation in the marketing around women. They have they've created gross names for our body parts so that we will be so repulsed by the term that when we see it on ourselves or on somebody else, we will be disgusted to the point we have to fix it. We have to do something about it because they're selling us a solution to a problem they made up. And they're giving words to it that make us feel like, oh my God, I can't, right? It creates pressure. Like that physical sense, I think all women have felt like disgusted by their body at some point, but this is like a marketing strategy, right? So when you're looking at this, it is important to understand that some things in health and fitness, most of your health and fitness, should at least make you feel better or be building something that you want to create rather than getting rid of or burning or eliminating. And I call it the build it versus burn it approach, right? If what you're trying to do is fix something about yourself because you think it'll make you more worthy, there's no finish line at the end of that. They will always create something else for you to fix. And even if you get incredibly skinny, either you won't be skinny enough or people will start criticizing you for being too skinny. So you get to choose. And so like when you're going to put your flag in the ground and say, this is the place I am that I want to fight for, let it be something that actually makes you feel good. Because if it makes you feel like shit to do it, it's going to feel like shit when people are criticizing it too. So pick your battles.
Yeah, that's a losing battle.
Yeah, it is. It is. Because, I mean, at least if I'm going to be criticized for my choices, I want to feel really aligned with my values and feel like, I don't care, I did the right thing for me. But if you are following this model, you can't say that. Right. You're like, no, I'm really just trying to fix myself, hoping someday I'll be good enough, right?
You recently posted a reel that I loved, and it was something to the effect of, I'm donating all my size 0, 2, and 4 clothes, and I know that I don't need these clothes anymore because in order to fit into them, I would need to lose some of my muscle mass, and that's not going to fucking happen.
Yeah. Not in this lifetime.
I want to hear more about this.
Yeah. So there's this messaging out there, again, with women, but not with men, that if you lift weights, you're going to get bulky. Now, I have a lot of muscle mass. The last DEXA scan I had, my lean mass was 115 pounds. So, I mean, like, and I'm 5'2". So it's a lot of muscle on this frame. Some people might think that, I don't know, I've never really been worried about getting bulky, but I probably have, quote unquote, a bulky amount of muscle on me. But I have spent over a decade on that. Like, I didn't go, oopsie, I'm jacked, no, it was a lot of work. It was a lot of time in the gym. It was a lot of time lifting the same weights over and over again, right? It was a lot of, you got to eat a lot of food. Like, this is, I think, one of the missing pieces too for women is that they do lift heavy, but then they don't eat enough to like actually make those gains, right? Because you actually have to give your body fuel to lay down more tissue. There has to be more of you. So you need more building materials, right? So even if you kind of lean into this endorsement of lifting heavy, building muscle mass, there can still be this little bit of restriction there, that can stunt it. But I've worked really hard for this. And this muscle isn't just an aesthetic, although I do love that I look terrifying and vaguely,
Yes.
Intimidating just in the way that I walk around. And I love it when people are like, you work out. And I'm like, yes, I do, right? I love that part of it, but this muscle mass is what it means that at 46, I don't have issues with my blood sugar. I don't have issues with my cholesterol. When I was competing with CrossFit, fell off of a pull-up bar, landed on my spine on the floor, broke my spine in 2 places, had a 5-week recovery. The bones never healed, but I don't even know.
Oh my God.
Like, every time I go to the doctor, they're like, what's going on here? And the orthopedist that I saw at the time was like, if you didn't have as much muscle as you had, that would have been a much bigger injury. You could have perforated your spinal cord, but they have like these thick, ropey muscles on the side of my spine. It was literally cushioning me. It's the reason that I can just go on trips with my own luggage and never have to worry about who's going to carry my luggage for me. I'm schlepping that duffel bag around from the train station. I don't notice it, right? Costco, I can just bring everything in by myself. When my dog, my 55-pound cattle dog, has to be sedated to go to the vet, I can put him in the car by myself. I can squat all the way down, pick him up, and put it in the car myself, right? There is not a chance in hell that I will willingly let go of this muscle mass for all of those reasons. I don't question a moment of what my body can do or can't do. And then somebody's like, hey, I want to run a half marathon next weekend. And I'm like, let's do it, right? Let's do it. Because I know my body is it's ready to be able to do these things.
Yes.
I can't imagine going back to a time when I had to question my meat suit. Like, it is so liberating to just be able to say, like, I'll be fine. Like, my body can handle that. Mm-hmm. And I mean, even like now I'm 150 pounds and at BMI standards, I'm overweight. I would literally have to lose a leg to like not be. And I'm okay with that. Like, I actually really love that fact. It's like I'm overweight with muscle.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I am over muscled, and I'm so thrilled with this because it affords me opportunities that you just don't have in other situations.
Over muscled is a fantastic term.
Yes.
What do you think would happen if every woman in the world adopted a strong mindset, replaced the skinny mindset? What do you think would happen in society?
I think there would be, as with a lot of things, there would be a big pushback. Mm-hmm. There would be a surge to put women back in their place. I think some of the resurgence of skinny talk and the trad wife aesthetic, I think these are not coincidence that they're happening now. I do think that it is pushback against the gains that had been made for women, for a lot of populations who are typically marginalized. This is like the system is shoving back. And I think we see that in over history, it's common, right? When the pendulum moves too far to one side, something is trying to push it back to create balance in the system. But if women were to persevere, the industry would be forced to change. Because if people aren't buying that they have a problem that you can solve, they stop spending their money. And the system is made to turn us into perpetual consumers. Like, there's always a problem. You're never good enough. There's always this, right? And it's like, all of a sudden, it's like women should lift heavy. And then there's a whole group of people that are going, no, women should not lift heavy, right? And it's like, okay, which is it, right? And you're seeing that discourse right now in the world. But I think that if we could stick to it, if we could withstand the backlash, if we could see it for what it is a dying model, just flailing on its last breaths, that it would crumble and it would be forced to find another way to function. It would be forced because as the consumers, we have a lot of power over what the industry does. If we're not buying what they're selling, they have to sell us something else. We can insist that they sell us something better.
I love it. Do you think this is something we'll see in our lifetime?
I would love to say that we do. But change is slow.
Yeah.
Change is slow. And I think some people just are not ready. And it's one of these things that it was hard to confront the ways that it has molded you into the person that you are. It's hard to face all of this on a daily basis. It's hard to keep choosing a different way and going against the grain. It's hard to choose friction in a world that is selling us a frictionless life, right? So some people aren't ready. And I think you have to account for the fact that no one's going to do this until they're ready. You can't make people do it. But my hope is that as generations of women continue to embrace this and model something better for the next generation, that we move closer to that being the standard.
And you're out here changing it.
Yes.
Beautiful. In our next conversation, we're going to talk about the menopause gold rush and what that means. I'm really excited to get into that with you, Allison.
Yeah, me too. Let's do it.
Yes.